Welcome to the deep dive. You know how sometimes you look at a piece of art and it feels like it's not just a canvas, but, well, a portal, like a window into an entire era, or maybe a societal shift, or even just human psychology. Today, we're stepping through one of those portals, diving deep into Rembrandt's iconic The Night Watch.
Ah, yes. And it's definitely not just a visual feast, is it? This masterpiece tells such a complex, multi-layered story, and remarkably, it fundamentally rewrote the rules for an entire art form.
That's a big statement. And I love it. So our mission today is really to unpack those layers of the Night Watch. And we're using a pretty rich collection of articles and analyses to guide us.
Right.
We want to understand its historical roots, its groundbreaking artistic innovations, and why it still holds such immense significance today. Think of this as your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about this incredible piece of work.
Okay, let's dive in. We should probably start by setting the scene. So picture 17th century Europe, specifically the Northern Holland Republic.
The Dutch Golden Age.
Exactly. A truly unique period. It was a time of unprecedented economic prosperity, booming international trade, incredible scientific discoveries, and just this vibrant cultural explosion.
It really sounds like fertile ground for, well, for something new. And the sources really stress how Holland getting its independence from Spanish rule was a huge catalyst.
Oh, absolutely huge.
That freedom spurred rapid urbanization and, crucially, the rise of a new social force.
Yeah.
The bourgeois class.
Yeah.
How did this new class actually change the art world?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Suddenly, the traditional art patrons, the church, the aristocracy, their influence started to fade a bit.
Right.
And instead, you had this burgeoning bourgeoisie and middle class demanding art that reflected their lives, their world. So there was this massive surge in demand for portraits, scenes of daily life, figurative representations that mirrored their own society and values.
So the focus shifted from the divine to the everyday, maybe. Grand stories to personal identity.
Precisely. From grand narratives to personal identity. That's a great way to put it.
And right into this dynamic, shifting art market steps Rembrandt Harmenzoon van Rijn, born 1606 in Leiden, moves to Amsterdam in the 1630s. That's where his career really takes off, yeah.
That's right. Amsterdam was the place to be. And Rembrandt quickly became a groundbreaking figure in the Dutch version of Baroque art.
Okay, Baroque, I think dramatic, movement.
Yes. Think grand, dramatic, full of movement. But Rembrandt took those general characteristics, things like intense play of light and shadow, tenebrism,
Tenebrism, right.
dramatic composition, focus on psychological depth, and he interpreted them in this profoundly human way. He didn't just paint a scene, he captured the soul, often making his subjects feel more relatable, more emotionally resonant than what you might typically see in the broader Baroque movement.
Which brings us right to The Night Watch, finished in 1642. You called it a radical renewal of group portraiture. What made it so radical compared to other group portraits back then?
Okay, so to get that, you need to picture these 17th century Amsterdam city militias. They were voluntary citizen units, organized for security, order.
Kind of like a citizen guard.
Exactly. And they were incredibly important social institutions. They embodied civic duty, status, the whole package. So getting your group portrait done was common. It expressed collective identity, individual pride.
But they were usually stiff, formal.
Oh, very. Almost always static, formal. Everyone lined up staring out at you. Imagine a glorified yearbook photo.
Really? I can picture that.
Yeah.
So Rembrandt comes along.
Yeah.
How did he challenge that? What was the big move?
He completely flipped it on its head. Instead of that stiff, formal lineup, he created this dynamic, almost theatrical composition. Figures are caught mid-action, moving, interacting.
Wow.
The painting's original name, by the way, was super formal. The company of Captain Frans Bannenkock and Lieutenant Willem van Ruitenberg's Amsterdam Militia Regiment.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Doesn't just... But yeah, at its core, it is a collective portrait. But its genius is how it also weaves in these broader themes: social order, unity not as static ideas, but as living, breathing actions.
Okay, let's really dig into that dynamic composition. It really feels like it has energy. What's happening right up front?
Well, right in the center, in the foreground, you've got Captain Frans Bannenkock. He's in that striking dark red attire.
Can't miss him.
Nope. And beside him is Lieutenant Willem van Ruitenberg in yellow. These two are just bathed in light. Their position is central. It immediately signals their leadership, their authority. And they're not just standing there, they're moving forward, almost stepping out of the canvas towards you.
And the others. The rest of the militia, they're definitely not just background props.
Not at all. That's the key. The other members are shown in all sorts of actions and poses. Some are loading rifles, others are marching, some are looking off in different directions, maybe talking to each other.
So it's alive.
It's totally alive. This infusion of movement, dynamism, sheer realism, it was a monumental leap from those static group portraits. And you can almost feel the individual personalities, right? The moods conveyed through their faces, their body language. It just deepens the psychological richness immensely.
And the light. The light and shadow in this painting is just stunning.
Yeah.
How did he achieve that effect? What was the point?
Ah, the light. It's masterful, isn't it? It doesn't seem to come from one single obvious source, like a window or the sun.
No, it feels more strategic.
Exactly. It's strategically placed to emphasize movement and the relationships between the figures. So the faces and hands of the main guys, Koch and Van Ruyten Birch, they're brightly lit, almost glowing,
Yeah.
while figures further back just sort of fade into shadow. This creates this powerful sense of depth, and it brilliantly directs your eye to the key figures, the crucial details. It pulls you right into the story he's telling.
The sheer size of it, too. It's huge. Roughly, 3.6 by 4.4 meters? That's massive for an oil painting on canvas. That alone must add to the impact.
Absolutely. The scale is definitely part of its power. It almost immerses you in the scene. And then if you look really closely at Rembrandt's brushwork, his technique, that reveals another layer of his genius. He uses both incredibly fine, detailed layers of paint, especially for the faces and hands, the important bits for likeness, but then he shifts to much freer, thicker, more textural strokes for, say, background details or areas of clothing.
So it's like he's sculpting with the paint almost, using texture as well as color and light.
Precisely. That's a great way to think about it. This varied technique directly contributes to the work's profound realism, its emotional intensity. Those raised, textured bits on the paint surface, they actually catch and reflect light differently.
Creating a kind of 3D effect.
Exactly, a dynamic, almost three-dimensional effect. It's where Rembrandt's unique style really just sings. He balances the interaction between all these figures with their individual distinctiveness, all within this incredibly complex group portrait. You don't just see it, you almost feel the different textures, the energy.
Okay, so we've looked at the technique. Let's put the night watch back into its world 17th century Holland. How did that society actually shape this specific masterpiece?
Well, one really compelling angle is the social structure itself. Remember those city militias? They weren't just defense forces.
Right, you said they were about status, too.
Exactly. Potent symbols of social prestige, citizenship status. Membership was often tied to specific class and economic conditions. So these portraits weren't just showing faces, they were reflecting individuals' social positions and symbolizing the collective power and civic order of the whole unit.
Can we see that in the painting itself, like specific examples?
Oh, certainly. Take Captain Cock again. He came from a wealthy, highly respected bourgeois family. That definitely helps explain his prominent leading position.
Makes sense.
And Lieutenant Van Ruyten Birch, though maybe from a slightly different social standing, still held a very important role, signifying his own status. If you really look closely at their clothing, their postures, how they relate to each other within the group, it paints a rich picture, offers all these clues about Amsterdam's socio-political structure back then.
It's fascinating how much is packed in there. So it's clear the Night Watch is way more than just a group photo. It has its own story. And let's clear up that common misconception, the name. It's called the Night Watch, but it's actually happening during the day, isn't it?
That's absolutely crucial, yes. The name Night Watch came much later. It was probably because the varnishes darkened over centuries, giving it that dark, atmospheric look. But yeah, it depicts a daytime event.
So what's the story then? What's happening?
Well, the most common interpretation is that it symbolizes the readiness, the activity of this militia unit. Maybe they're getting ready for patrol, or perhaps they're already out on patrol. It's a moment of organized action, of civic duty in motion.
Okay, readiness, action. What about deeper themes? What messages was Rembrandt trying to convey?
Well, the themes are really multi-layered. On one hand, yes, it emphasizes that collective responsibility individuals working together for society's safety and order.
Yeah.
That's clear. But at the same time, individual identity, uniqueness, it's meticulously preserved. Each person is distinct. So it offers this profound commentary on the complex dance between the individual and society.
Yeah, the tension.
Exactly. And if you look closely at each figure, they carry a different psychological weight, a different expression. You see determination, alertness, maybe someone looks a bit tired, others are in preparation mode, maybe even a hint of relief or a quiet conversation happening on the side. It's incredibly rich psychologically.
So it's not just a frozen snapshot in time, is it? It feels more like a film frame
Yeah.
capturing ongoing action.
You've hit it right there. It is absolutely not a frozen moment. The figures' poses, where they're looking, how they interact, it all creates this sense of time progressing, of a narrative unfolding right before your eyes.
Which goes back to that Baroque emphasis on movement and dynamism you mentioned.
Precisely. But Rembrandt brings this unparalleled sense of unfolding drama, of human interaction within that dynamism. It's quite unique.
The Night Watch really does feel like a peak in Rembrandt's career, and it's become such an enduring symbol of the whole Dutch Golden Age. What really cemented its place in art history, and how did it affect artists who came later?
Well, its immense acclaim really stems from that revolutionary contribution to the group portrait tradition, unlike those stiff, static
The
compositions.
yearbook photos.
Right. The Night Watch offered this dynamic narrative. It presented movement, individuality, and collective order all at once. That was groundbreaking. And it profoundly influenced later artists, especially in the masterful play of light and shadow, that deep psychological portrayal and the dramatic scene composition.
And the painting itself has had quite a life, hasn't it? Restorations moving around.
Oh, yes, it's got a storied history, various restoration attempts over the centuries, thankfully better preservation efforts more recently. And now, of course, it's proudly displayed at the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, a real treasure for the city and the world, a testament to its enduring power.
So wrapping this up, Rembrandt's The Night Watch is just this incredibly multi-layered, incredibly rich masterpiece, whether you look at it historically, culturally, artistically.
It truly is. It masterfully blends the social structure of the time, those core Baroque principles, and these deep individual psychological insights into one, frankly, monumental work. Its sheer scale, the detailed craftsmanship, that dramatic light, the dynamic composition, it all secures its unique and, I'd say, unshakable place in art history.
It feels like it goes far beyond just showing a 17th century Dutch society, though. It feels more universal, like a powerful symbol of human nature, social order, collective identity, offering so many insights into people, then and now.
Absolutely. And that actually leads us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to perhaps mull over. How does the Night Watch challenge our own ideas about how collective and individual identities get expressed, not just in art, but, in our own communities today?
Something to definitely ponder long after our deep dive ends. Thanks so much for joining us.